Hello everyone. We'll begin today's session shortly. While we wait for participants to join in, could you please confirm if I'm audible? You can type a yes in the chat box. Thanks for confirming. Just a couple more minutes and we'll start today's session. Yeah. Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, AI/ML Roadmap, Driving the Future of Intelligent Connectivity. Thank you for joining us today. So this exclusive session is designed to help you unlock the future of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So during this webinar, we will explore the key trends, breakthroughs, and strategies shaping the AI/ML landscape, how these technologies, are transforming industries and creating new opportunities, and how you can position yourself for success in this rapidly evolving tech space. And our speaker for today is Mr. Shyam Venkatesh, who serves as the Director of Architecture at FinTech industry and brings over 20 years of experience in this industry. Shyam is a seasoned technology leader, a solution architect, and a data scientist. His extensive background equips him with unique insights into the evolving landscape of AI and its implications for the workforce and industry. So, before I hand over the session to him, I'll quickly take you through the flow so that we can answer as many questions as possible. We have kept all the attendees in listen only mode. You can send in your questions in the chat or else in the Q&A tab. And we'll take them up once the presentation is done. And also remember what Sham covers today is just the beginning. The field of AI and ML is vast and ever evolving, and there is so much more to learn and explore. So I invite you to consider enrolling in our AI/ML course where you can, deepen your understanding and gain hands-on experience in these exciting areas. So, once again, we encourage you to engage with us. Feel free to ask as many questions as possible and share your thoughts during the session. Without further ado, let's get started. Over to you, Usha.
Thank you, Lakshana. Hey everyone, welcome to today's session. I'll start sharing my screen. Please confirm if you are able to see the presentation and also confirm if you're able to hear me well. Okay, all good. So, like Lakshana said, keep this interactive and engaging, and I'll have my uh, chat window and the chat window open, right? So let's try to use the chat window, chat option and not Q&A. It'll be difficult for me to follow both, right? So today's webinar is about AI ML roadmap driving the future of intelligent connectivity, right? Now, this title seemed to be highly overloaded, right? So let me break it down for you, right? So really the theme that we want to cover today is that connectivity, right, is moving from fast to intelligent, right? And AI ML are the drivers, right? So whether you believe or not, AI ML is the backbone of intelligent connectivity, right? What I mean by that is the connectivity today is not just about, any fast networks. It's not about smart. It's all about smart interactions, right? It's all about how people, devices, systems interact with each other, right? And how this is enabled is using AI/ML, right? They are the engines making this intelligence. They are making data-driven decisions in the real time, right? So we are moving from traditional connectivity like pipes of data to intelligent connectivity, right? Where we have personalized, we have predictive, we have adaptive experiences which are powered by AI/ML. And this is across industries, right? And we'll also see from a roadmap perspective, right, how you can look at AI/ML adoption as a journey, right? First, you need to look at data readiness, you need to look at model building, and then you move into deployment, and then you do scaling responsibly, right? So the roadmap is not linear. It's iterative, it's continuous learning, it is evolving, right? And that's why having a systematic study of that roadmap becomes important, and that's what we will cover in this webinar, right? And also the what inspired us to have this topic is the industry shift, right? So we had the talk about 5G, about IoT, about cloud, about edge computing, right? All these of course are shifting, they are evolving, but they're also amplifying AI's role, right? Especially in driving connectivity, right? Sectors like healthcare, finance, retail, they're seeing AI enabled connected ecosystems, right? So that's why, the inspiration for this topic. And also organizations, right, are looking for professionals like you, right, who can bridge this data, who can bring in algorithms and add business value, right? So building enterprise AI/ML is not just about coding, it's about shaping the future of intelligent and connected systems. Earlier we had data, we had connectivity, we had intelligent connectivity, right? Now it's all about how you can use AI/ML along with cloud, along with IoT, along with 5G, and bring in an ecosystem of connected intelligence, right? Some examples, if I want to share, Netflix, right? So it's not about just streaming fast movies to you, right? Without any lag. It's about personalization. It's about recommendation. It's about understanding what you as a person like to watch and what can be recommended to you, right? Smart cities are being built across the world and especially in India. It's not just IoT, it is IoT plus AI. There are healthcare wearables, right? It's not just technology, it's not just sensors. This gives you predictive alerts, which is AI, right? So that's what we'll cover today, right? And hopefully everyone is excited about this topic. We will look at what is AI, what are the types of AI. We'll look at um, what are the difference between data science, AI, and deep learning. Why do we have to learn AI in 2025? Right? I think that's $1 million question everyone might have, right? It's already has been like a crazy it's been a crazy fad since a decade now. But in 2025, especially, what inspires us to learn more about AI, right? And how to learn it, right? And especially from scratch. Do we just learn how to build supervised learning models? Should I just learn how to classify between a cat and a dog? Or is there more, systematic study to it? Is there a way that I can start from scratch, right? So that's what we'll talk about. We'll look at AI roadmap, right? And what are the different careers, right? So this will give you, in a nutshell, what you can aspire for, right? By learning AI, how your career trajectory would look like, right? And finally, a curriculum roadmap to wrap it up, right? So let's talk about the AIML roadmap, right? So see, AI uh, doesn't begin from the word go, right? So there's a lot of preparation, there's a lot of evolution that has to happen, and it's all part of the roadmap. As part of AI, an enterprise, if they are to build an AI service or enable an AI service or consume an AI service, they need to look at their data readiness, right? So how well the data is, how much quantity of data the enterprise has, right? And the quality of the data, right? So are there missing values? Are there, unstandard values? Are there going to be any need for normalization of these, data? Do we miss data for, let's say, a certain cycle, right? So that's all very important, understanding the data readiness in your organization, right? Now that's where we would have stopped maybe a couple of years ago. But now, along with data readiness, what you also need is some level of governance, right? Do you have data only from, let's say, one of the state, right? Or do you have, like, very well balanced data spread across all the states? Do you have data only for, let's say, a certain age group? Or do you have a very balanced data for across all age groups, right? Do you have data only for certain system? Or do you have data for all the system, right? So again, all these are part of governance, right? So if you are saying you are ready with data, you should also ensure that it's governed. There are certain rules, certain biases and unbiases, that needs to be checked for, right? And then comes the ML model deployment, right? So this is the easiest part, right? Whether you do a supervised learning, you can do an unsupervised learning, you can do a deep learning, right? So depending on your problem, depending on the solution, right? So you would build a model and then you would deploy that, right? And the deployment, if you want to scale it, it might be on an you might use MLOps, or you might use like an edge, right? Or a cloud, right? So this is how you would deploy, and then you would scale that. And finally, you would monitor, right? MLOps covers all this. MLOps covers whether you can monitor, how the model is decaying over time in terms of accuracy and performance, how the data that you're using are decaying across time. So all these needs to be monitored, right? Which everything comes under the MLOps umbrella, right? And once you are able to scale, you need to look at responsible AI, right? Which is another aspect which is coming into picture, and more governance and compliance around it, right? What is the ethics? What is the fairness? What is the explainability of your models, right? So the whole roadmap is like moving from electricity to smart grids, right? It's not just power, but you have intelligent optimized distribution of power now, right? So that's how the roadmap should look like for your organization as well, right? But we have been talking about AI and its roadmap, but what exactly is AI, right? Now, most of you, I'm sure, know what is AI, right? And most of you have even looked at how AI is already touching your daily life, right? Now, yeah, let's try to answer that, folks. I see a lot of you, this almost pretty much no messages on the chat. So let's keep it some engagement going. So where do you see AI already touching your daily life? What do you think, folks? Can you put your responses on the chat? It's okay. Nothing is silly, nothing is stupid, or nothing is too, sophisticated, right? So any answer is fine for us. Where do you see AI already touching your daily life? What do you think? I see about 50 of us on the webinar, right? So let's expect at least 10% of the people responding. So Jiva says education, right? So education, we are already seeing AI, being used. Folks are using AI, to come up with a curriculum, right? People are using AI to come up with, sample question papers, right? AI to evaluate your answer sheets, right? Great, great response, Jiva, right? Sandeep says building dashboards and learning, right? Yeah, absolutely, right. So dashboards, from a leadership standpoint, is very important, right? It gives you a kind of a lighthouse where we stand, right? But building smart dashboard, right? So how would you, automatically trigger an alert? How would you automatically trigger certain, warnings? Right, and learning from these, right, from learning from the dashboard, what is the trend looking like, right? At what point in the day that the value goes very low and things like that. Vibe coding. Wow, Manish says vibe coding. I'm not very much sure on what it is. Pardon my ignorance. Sounds very cool though, right? Smart home lighting, absolutely right. So depending on the time of the day, depending on the weather, we are able to now adjust the lighting depending on the mood. Let's say it's a Friday night and you have another ambient lighting, right? That setup, right? Great. In finance, for credit management systems, for robo advisory and things like that. Great example, Varun, right? Gunjan says project management. Absolutely right. So the Jira, Jaira, whatever you call it, right, is now all Atlassian has embedded AI on that. There are smart reports. There are nudges to scrum masters and stakeholders. There are automatic reports that get generated. Right. Jiva also says telecommunication, right? Absolutely, right. So, of course, in the working of the telecommunication is one, but in the customer service, right, when it comes to telecom, like if you have an Airtel or a Vodafone Idea, there is a smart bill that you get these days, right? Why your this month's bill is higher than your previous bill, right? What exactly you did, it's able to point out the uh, smarter bills today than very static bills earlier, right? Toxicity prediction, fraud detection, great example, right? Stock markets, algo trading, right? Selling stocks in the shortest timeline. Shortest timeline, of course, you need bandwidth, good connectivity to the exchange or broker service, right? But at least the nudge, at least the execution is something that is automated today, and it can be done much faster at lightning speed compared to what a human would do, analyst would do, right? Content writing, right? The Gen AI has changed the landscape of all the content writing. Every buddy can generate very high quality professional looking emails today. Everyone can write their own ebook today, right? Performance management, I think, self assessment. Nobody writes paragraphs these days. Everything is Copilot or Chat GPT, right? Content writing is another place which has definitely, like, dramatically changed, right? Quant trading, finance, absolutely, right? So great examples shared all around, right? But really, what is AI? If I were to define that, then this is the science, right, that can mimic human intelligence, right? And why we want to do that? To solve problems, to automate tasks, and to create insights, right? If I want to put it practically, the AI can understand natural language, right? What I mean by that is it can process human language, whether it's spoken, whether it's written, anything, right? It can understand the meaning, it can understand the context, and it can understand the intent, right? So I can say I'm standing on the bank, and the water is, the water is, maybe splashing against me, right? Now here the word bank isn't refer to the institution bank, right? I'm referring to the river bank or a sea bank, right? Or a lake bank, right? So it's basically a river bank, right? So I didn't even explicitly mention that, right? And just by the context, just by that, because I mentioned with the water splashing against me, the AI can understand that I'm standing on a river bank and not an institution bank, right? Chatbots do that, virtual assistants, Siri, Alexa, all these are now able to understand natural language, right? AI can recognize patterns, right? It can learn to detect hidden patterns in large volumes of data, right? So I can say, Lopa, you seem to have raised a hand. I mean, raised hand is um, not something that is supported for this webinar. So if any questions, please put it on the chat, right? And we can use the chat to keep this more engaging, right? So we are talking about how AI can recognize patterns, right? So let's say you have a data of 100 individuals, right? Commuting to work. Right. So you may have data about their time, what time they start, what is the mode of transport that they take, right? What time they reach, do they stop in between, what was their mood, you can go on and capture as much data as you want, right? Now you to analyze that data, you have basically a set of 100 people, right? So you can see that a lot of people are starting at maybe 9 a.m., right? You can see a majority of the portion people are reaching in under 1 hour, right? A few people are taking more than 2 hours, right? So you can come up with statistics, you can come up with insights, right? But because it's just 100 data points you're looking at. Imagine you're looking at millions and billions of data points, right? It becomes very difficult for a human to draw any insight, right? And that's where AI can come. It can not only see these very obvious patterns, but minute hidden patterns, right? Even in large volume of data, right? Someone was talking about fraud detection, right? Or fault detection, right? So identify all these fraudulent transactions when you have unusual spending behavior, right? So all these are great applications of AI. AI can help you make decisions, right? How? By using rules, they use probabilities, they use optimization to recommend, right? Or to take any action on your behalf, right? Like, for example, you might be using Google Maps, right? So Google Maps does route optimization for you, right? And it's taking the decision for you on your behalf that this is probably a better route for you to drive more easily and reach more faster, right? Dynamic pricing in airline industry, right? So you might be searching for a flight and suddenly you see the prices go down or go up. All these are now controlled by AI, right? The AI is making these decisions for you. AI helps you learn from data and experience. Through machine learning, AI improves over time. As it's exposed to more data, it starts learning more and more patterns. Netflix recommendation when you are first time registered to Netflix, right? Or when you're first time registered to YouTube, even you can check that in like an incognito mode, right? You don't see very good recommendations. It's very, very, very narrow, very obvious recommendations, right? The most popular movies. But as the more you watch, as more shows that you watch, you get better recommendations. Um, so certification on joining the webinar, I'm not sure. I think the program manager can talk about it. Really, we are trying to talk and inspire you about uh, AI roadmap and how you can pursue your AML learning journey from scratch. Right. So hopefully this definition of AI makes sense and everyone is on the same page. Now we can also break down the types of AI, right? So they can be categorized into something called ANI, artificial narrow intelligence, right? This is also called weak AI, right? There are, these AI they are specialized at performing one task very well, but they are limited to that task or that domain alone, right? Like for example, email spam filter, Siri, Alexa, they can only take in your voice request for a request for a song or give back weather content, weather information, right? Netflix recommendations, they can only do movie recommendation, show recommendations for you, right? They cannot do, like, for example, fault detection, right? So this is where most of the AI today operates. We have been building lot of narrow intelligent AI systems, right? Which can do one task very well. We are training them with lots and lots of domain specific data, right? Um, and then we have artificial general intelligence, right? Which is also called strong AI, right? This is more of a it's theoretical, right? It's more aspirational, and the belief is an AI system can perform any intelligent task that a human can do, right? It can understand, it can learn, it can apply across domains, right? Now I am taking this webinar, I am able to look at the chat, I'm able to look at your engagement, I'm able to look at my slides, I'm able to look at the clock and time my presentation. So I'm doing a lot of things here, right? I'm doing all my cognitive capabilities, right? But today our ANI, artificial narrow intelligence, can only do one thing very well, right? But our general intelligence is where it's human-like. It's like what we are doing. It's able to perceive multiple data points, right, across domains and apply them at real time, right? So it is not yet achieved, but the long-term vision of AI research, has been very, very positive about this, and it is just a matter of time, right? And then there is the artificial super intelligence, which is purely hypothetical, right? It goes beyond human level intelligence. It's capable of creativity. It's able to do decision making. It's able to do problems solving far superior than what humans can do, right? And of course, you might have seen this in, futuristic movies, right? So that's where ASI stands for. Right. So and just to give an analogy, ANI is like your calculator, right? AGI is human, right? We can learn multiple things in switch context. Calculator, because it's very smart only at math. It cannot do cooking, right? And ASI is like superhuman, right? It could potentially outthink humans in every field, right? Now, we always come across, these terminologies, right? Difference between data science, AI, ML, deep learning, right? So all these jargons are so overwhelming that, we kind of, swap these things, right? We kind of misplace, how we use these terminologies, right? So let's put that into context. So data science, what it is? Data science is a field that extracts insights and knowledge from data using statistics, programming, and domain expertise. Right? So data science is a field that extracts insights and knowledge using statistics. The goal of the data science is to make data-driven decisions, like, for example, analyzing a sales data to forecast revenue, right? So that's data science. It can look at data, it uses statistics, it uses programming, it uses domain expertise, and comes up with data-driven decisions. And AI is a science that enables uh, data science, right? And AI is responsible for making machines think and act like humans, right? The goal is to build systems that can reason, that can learn, and that can adapt, right? Virtual assistants, self-driving cars, all these are examples. Machine learning, it's a subset of AI, right? And here, machines use algorithms, right, to learn from data, and they improve performance over time as more data is made available to them, right? So examples could be email spam classification, product recommendations, etc. And within ML, there is something called deep learning, right? Which is a subset of machine learning. It uses neural networks with many layers, right? It mimics like a human brain, right? That's why we call it neurons. The neurons in the human brain, the way it's connected, that's how we are building neural network and what we call as deep learning. It can handle unstructured data like images, audios, text, and it can do that at scale. You upload a image on Facebook, right? It's able to do face recognition. How is that? That is deep learning at play. Speech to text, that's deep learning, right? So data science is all about finding meaning to data, right? It's a bigger umbrella, and it is somewhat related to data analysis. AI is the goal is to make machines smart, right? ML is the method to achieve AI using algorithms that can learn. Deep learning is an advanced technique within ML, right? That can look at unstructured data and make decisions for you, right? So if you look at the hierarchy, it is data science, which is a broad field, and then you have AI, which is making intelligent systems, ML, learnings from data, DL, deep learning, which is neural networks. Okay, so I'll just take a pause here, help you, kind of digest this and ask any questions if you have. There seems to be a question on the chat. I would like to um, look at it. It says from mechanical, more than 18 years, oil and gas, new to software. Says, yeah, absolutely right. So we'll talk about the learning roadmap, Vijay, right? So um, here we will talk about how you can go from foundational to mastery, right? When I say foundational, it is net zero or even -1, right? So you don't need to know any kind of programming or a uh, data skills today, right? To start learning AIML. Given time, given the willingness to learn, you will be able to master it, right? And we'll show you how to do that, right? So being a data scientist, should the person, we'll talk about Priyank, we'll talk about data scientist role, right? How is impacting real estate sector, right? Of course, we are not talking about sector specific, Praveen, like, but definitely, right? In terms of scouting, today, Boston, right, in the US, it's east a town in the East Coast. Boston within Massachusetts, what the municipality has done is you can scout for properties, right? And the prices are not controlled any longer by local brokers or agents, right? So the municipality has fed this to an AI system, and they are, based on the demand, based on the proximity, based on, many other factors. There's dynamic pricing, and you can look up. It's just like regulated, stock market. They have converted real estate, right? So it's just a matter of time where there'll be more and more AI to all these sectors, right? But first of all, why learn AI, right? And Priyanka will talk about what is data scientist role, and we will spend some time on that, right? Just hold on for a bit. Why learn AI in 2025? AI is everywhere, right? Be it chatbots, self-driving cars, fraud detections, healthcare, a lot of examples that you mentioned, right? Everywhere, right? AI is not a futuristic technology, it is in our daily life, right? And AI adoption has become an essential part of our technology field, right? It's like how internet was 20 years ago, right? You had no choice, you had to put it out on the internet, right? There's a massive career opportunity, folks, right? So IML roles are the fastest growing jobs, right? Companies need professionals who can bridge data, algorithms, business strategy, right? And the demand is far outpacing the supply, right? So there's a strong career leverage that you can create here, right? And we talked about intelligent connectivity, how AI skills allow you to design and drive this transformation of 5G, IoT, cloud, edge computing along with AI. Right. And it's a good way to future proof your career, I would say, right? Like automation is changing, right? Traditional roles, and AI is part of that automation. AI skill professionals are the ones who will design, who will train, and who will manage these automation systems in the future, right? So driving innovation, driving impact, right? So it's not just about tech, it's about real world problem solving as well, right? Climate change, education, real estate, right? All these are, again, driving the innovation, right? And when I talk about automation, agentic AI is another great lever, right? Where you can have workflow, we can have step by step automation, right? Let's say I want to planned this webinar, right? A week ago, what I can do, I can build an agentic AI, which will, maybe roll out the, the message across all social media platforms about this program, right? So it will help me go to my Outlook mailbox, block my 1 hour slot, and it will probably block maybe half an hour slot somewhere so that I can prep up for this webinar. It will also send out meeting invites to whoever who has registered, right? And then probably it will send, notes and, certificates once we close this webinar, right? So all these now can be agentic AI. We have automated, and it's not just doing just automation. It is bringing in AI, right? Now agentic AI knows how, the approach it has taken, and something has failed. The next time it does that, it does much better. Right. And Gen AI again, we can talk about it for an entire session, right? So, so how to learn AI from scratch, right? So, see, uh, from this morning, right? I'm sure many of you would have already interacted with AI, right? It could be Google Maps, which might have optimized your route. It could be Netflix recommendation, right? Which is recommending your next show, or your phone unlocked, right? With your face recognition, right? So AI is isn't coming in the future. It's already in your pocket, right? The question is, will you just use it, or will you learn to build it, right? So learning AI is an exciting journey, right? So, and the only thing is, I have helped a lot of people learn AI, right? But I think it can be learned well if you have take a strategic approach, right? And this is how we think you can get started, right? So one is, you need to build strong foundation, right? So the strong foundation comes with mathematics, right? You need to know linear algebra, probability, statistics, calculus basics, right? And you need to know bit of programming. And I'm telling you, you need to know, you will learn this as part of, your AI learning journey, right? We are all we are assuming everyone is in the baseline, and nobody knows nothing, right? Maybe you've been in the industry, so you know the domain very well, like for example oil and energy, or could be from HR, you could be from finance, right? You could be from investment banking. You might know your domain very well. You might know your job very well, right? But the expectation is only that and willingness to learn, right? You don't need to know mathematics, programming, or data skills, which is what you would learn from scratch if you were to enroll in a program in the IML, right? So you would have like a base camp, right? You would have like a, camp, where you will learn about Python, which is the language of AI, right? We'll learn about NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, all these libraries, right? Data skills, how do you clean the data? How do you visualize data? How do you interpret data, right? These are some basic skills, right? And then you go on to learn core AI/ML concepts, right? Like what are the ML basics? What are supervised learning? What is unsupervised learning? What is regression? What is classification? What is clustering? Right? And then you move on to deep learning, where you talk about neural networks, CNNs, which is convolutional neural networks, RNN, recurrent neural networks, transformers, right? And then you will pick up tools like scikit-learn, like TensorFlow, like PyTorch, right? And this is all part of the journey, right? And then you would probably do a hands-on project. You'll start with a small data set, right? Like there is a very popular data set called Titanic Survival Prediction, right? Or recognition. So you would take a smaller data set, and then you would start moving to real-world applications like sentiment analysis of a certain tweet, right? So image classifications, chatbots, building your own chatbot, right? And then you would build a GitHub portfolio of your own, right? And then you would specialize on some of this, right? Now you are able to build hands-on projects, you will want to specialize in advanced areas such as NLP, right? You would need to know transformers in depth. You need to know large language models like ChatGPT, BERT, etc. in depth, right? Computer vision, maybe that's the specialization you want to do. Then you would need to know image recognition. You would need to know object detection, right? And the different techniques, different models, and the state of art algorithms that are out today that does this, and what you can do, what you can tune to make it better, right? Reinforcement learning, you want to specialize in reinforcement learning, you need to know game AI, you need to know robotics, right? Someone's talking about ML ops, right? How do you deploy the model, right? How do you scale the model, how do you monitor the model, right? And monitoring machine learning AI models are not how DevOps work, right? DevOps is very simple monitoring, but in AI you have model and the data that you need to monitor, right? The data on which the model is trained can drift over time, right? The model performance will drift over time, right? So you need to keep up with that, monitor that. You need to maybe fine tune parameters, hyper tune parameters, or you may need a newer version of the model, or you may need retraining of the model, right? Which is a very expensive exercise, right? And then all these you need to learn about governance, about ethics, about bias, explainability of the model, basically focusing on responsible AI, right? Which is very crucial. So that to do all that, I feel that joining a structured learning program will be beneficial, right? Self-learning is great, right? We all do that. But if you want to accelerate, if you want some structure and you want some mentorship, you want peer learning, guided projects that can bridge your theory to practice, that's where structured learning program helps you, right? And of course, no matter how you learn, you need to keep practicing, you need to stay updated, right? You need to follow portals like Kaggle, like Hugging Face, GitHub repos. Keep building portfolios on that. You need to read research papers, right? Maybe simple summaries, right? In ArcSiv, Medium, right? You need to stay updated on AI tools, and these are evolving every night. There are certain something new in the field of AI, right? So learning AI is exactly like learning a language, right? You start with alphabets, which is maths, which is programming, and then you form words, which is ML models, and then you make sentences, which is deep learning applications, and finally you build stories, right? Which is a real world major projects, right? So all these are, um, how you would develop skills. Now, if you want a specialist AI skill, you have here. If you want to build skills around tools and packages, these are the things that you need to focus on, right? Now, someone was asking me about data scientist career, right? I think it's a good segue to talk about that, right? It's inspiring, the data scientist career, right? It's one of the most impactful careers of our time, right? So I fortunately had played that role for a while, and we have seen how data scientists can use raw data and use and turn that into decisions that can shape business, be it healthcare, be it finance, or even government. Predicting disease outbreaks, optimizing supply chain, detecting fraud, all these are data scientist roles, right? Data scientists blend science, art, and business, right? They're able to not just math and code, they're able to tell story with the data. They're able to combine statistics, they're able to combine algorithms, combine their domain knowledge and discover insights and tell stories that can drive change. There's a high demand for data scientists, right? And there's a huge global demand, right? Itself is exploding, right? Like 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. Imagine that, right? 90% of the world's data was created in just last 2 years. So every industry needs data-driven intelligence, and data scientists are the ones that makes these data-driven intelligence globally mobile. They're future-proof, right? And I feel data scientist is an excellent career growth and opportunity, right? Definitely, you may not become data scientists from the very early on. Miss evolve from a data analyst to a ML engineer to an AI specialist, and then chief data officer or a data scientist, right? And even the salaries, right? They are among the highest, right, in the tech fields, and there is a continued demand for that, right? So that's a data scientist. Being a data scientist is like being an explorer, right? So you're charting unknown territories, right? So you're building, maps of intelligence, guiding your industry into the future, right? So let me give a inspiring example, right? So in 2020, during the pandemic outbreak, right? So doctors around the world were overwhelmed, right? So what happened? A team of data scientists in the US, right, and India, they partnered and they started working on building AI models that can look at chest X-rays and CT scans and detect COVID related lung functions. And they were able to do that, build a solution that can do that in seconds. Okay. Radiologist has to look at these X-rays and CT scans for about 15-20 minutes to confirm, but AI could flag it in less than a minute, right? So this and because of the number of rampant cases it was there, it was helping doctors focus on urgent cases, right? Like, severe COVID cases, which was turning into pneumonia and stuff like that, right? So this work of the data scientists saved thousands of lives, right? And we were able to give faster diagnosis in hospitals, and even where medical, staff was short, right? So none of these data scientists were doctors, right? They were just engineers, they were just analysts who mastered AI, who knew data science, right? So all they did was they applied their skills, they created an impact at scale, right? And it helped millions of people, right? So that's the power of data science career. You're not just crunching numbers, you're also solving problems that can help the world, right? So that's a data scientist. If you look at AI learning roadmap itself, right? So you start with foundations where you step into AI, right? You start with maths, you start with programming, you start with data skills, right? And when I say start, you are starting from zero, right? So you'll learn probably Python, you'll do some data cleaning, visualization, EDA, right? And then you go on to build the base, right, which is your core machine learning. It could be algorithms. You learn a bit of algorithms like regression, classification, clustering, decision trees, random forest, support vector machines, right? So all these are very standard algorithms, right? And then you start how you evaluate these machine learning models. What are the metrics? Would you look at accuracy? Would you look at precision? Would you look at recall, F1 score, ROC, right? All these metrics. And then you would apply, or you would use this, algorithms with certain tools like scikit-learn, right? Or Jupyter notebooks, right? And this could be something on your local laptop or it could be on the cloud. Now you are understanding how to use cloud services, right? You see how you are able to expand your learning by just focusing on building the base, which is the core machine learning, right? And then you do small projects, learning projects, right? And then you go beyond the basics, right? Where you learn deep learning. You learn about neural networks. You learn about CNNs. You learn about transformers. You learn about frameworks which that help you do that, like TensorFlow, like PyTorch, like Keras, right? And you will do much more complex projects which use unstructured data like images, right? Image classifiers, sentiment analysis, right? And then you choose your track, right? Where you look at specialized domains. You might look at NLP, you might look at computer vision, reinforcement learning, Gen AI, right? How you do image generations, how you do text to speech, how you do multimodal AI, right? And then you go beyond that and look at scale and production, right? Skills like ML ops, how to do a model deployment, how to build CI/CD pipelines, how to build monitoring, how to build scaling. You look at cloud AI, how to use the AWS, GCP, or Azure services, how to use Auto ML provided by, the AWS Studio, how to do big data integrations using Spark, Hadoop, large scale ML, how to build responsible AI, how to build explainability into their model, right? And then you move to more mastery where you become a industry leader or an AI leader, right? You have a research mindset. You have open source contributions. You are participating in Kaggle competitions, right? You're building end-to-end AI solutions impacting real industries. You're mentoring and teaching people. You're sharing knowledge, right? So it's like climbing a mountain, this AI roadmap, right? The foundations are part of your base camp where you learn mathematics, Python, and data manipulation. And then you learn ML, which is the trek. And deep learning will take you higher. Specialization is where you choose the trail that you take, right? And advanced skills, tools, these are the gears, these are the mastery, right? And when you reach the summit is where you see the entire AI landscape clearly, right? So this is the roadmap, right? That we recommend, right? So we'll talk a little bit about careers. We talked about data scientist already, right? Much of it, right? um, if you're if you are, let's say, foundational, right, where you have learned Python, maths, data handling, and you're able to build your confidence using small projects, then you can move on to learn core machine learning and deep learning, where you can be a machine learning engineer, right? So you will be doing evaluating models. You will build churn predictions, recommendation engines, fraud detections, and all those, right? And then let's say you're into deployment and ML ops, you can become a ML ops specialist, right? Where you work on end-to-end projects from data, from model to deployment, right? And then you can build a strong portfolio of all these and prepare sharpen your resume, right? And you can prepare for roles like data scientist or a research scientist, right? Or an applied scientist, right? So 2 to 3 years you might grow into a ML engineer or a senior ML engineers. 3 to 5 years, you might grow into a data scientist, right? And beyond that, you might grow into an AI architect, product manager, or leadership roles, right? So think of these AI programs are not just a certificate, it's a launch pad, right? In 12 to 15 months, you would be moving from learning fundamentals to solving real world AI problems, and you will be leading AI transformation within your industry, right? So you will be transforming your career along the way, right? So that's how I would put this. And to do all that, I think structured learning matters a lot, right? AI is vast, AI is complex, right? It spans maths, it spans across programming, algorithms, data engineering, cloud, deployment, everything, right? So without a structured learning, anyone can get lost in the random tutorials, and sometimes you will quit half the way, right? So curriculum will provide a clear roadmap from basics to advanced, right? So this is a, a blueprint, a very high level curriculum, right? Where you start with foundations of Python, then you move to machine learning and advanced techniques, and then you move on to deep learning where you learn neural networks and computer vision, and then Gen AI and NLP, right? Then model deployment and ML ops, right? And finally, how you can also bring in the SQL and applied statistics, which is the data angle to it, right? So with structured learning, you will build strong foundations before complexity, right? So you can't jump into like deep learning projects without understanding ML basics, right? Without understanding math, without understanding data handling, right? So you need a layered knowledge. You need to learn it step by step, right? And then you need hands-on and also the theory balance of project and real world applications, right? So all that should go hand in hand, right? And at the same time, it should be industry relevant, right? It shouldn't be that something is in a book and you're learning, but in the real world, in the industries, the real data scientists are no more using that. They're using something else, right? So it has to be industry relevant, right? It should be aligned to what companies need today, right? It's not just training models. It's not just preparation. It's about deployment. It's about ML ops. It's about ethics. It's the end-to-end AI workflow, right? And that's how you become job ready, right? And then you need to know. mentorship, you need to have peer learning, right? So with structured learning, it connects you with the mentors, it connects you with the faculty, it connects you with your peers, right? And it helps you solve any roadblocks, right? So you will come across a lot of roadblocks. When I started, I didn't even know how to use Jupyter Notebook, right? Forget Python. So and I kind of tapped into my faculty, tapped into my peers, and helped learn faster, right? You will run into roadblocks, so you can solve them faster, you can stay motivated, right? And you will learn from diverse experience, right? Somebody does some mistake, and the entire cohort will learn that, right? And you are able to like have some accountability to your learning. You won't quit midway. There'll be some progress tracking, right? And it is definitely gamified, right? So all these are gamified as well, right? So it's like training a marathon, right? So you don't just start running 2 kilometers on day one. You need a plan, you need some coaching, you need to start small, you need to start with the first step, and then you move on to the finish line. Right. So Great Learning, all of you might be aware, is one of the leading edtech company. It provides a lot of such courses which involves this level of curriculum in much more detail, right? And over months, right? So it will help you, evolve from foundational to mastery, right? And also at the same time, you need to be ready for the future, right? Not just AI that has happened so far, and knowing that, but how do you be ready for the future, right? So that's where a program like this can be very helpful, right? So Lakshana has shared a link on the chat window, right? I request all of you to use that link, even bookmark that, and it has an information, that you can take away, and some feedback that we would request from you, right? So give your feedback using the form which is on the chat, and you can also screenshot this slide, right, where there is contact information, how you can, approach and move forward with this program in case this is what you're aspiring for. Right. So hopefully this was helpful. And just to summarize what we covered today, we looked at what is AI, we looked at types of AI, we looked at the difference between data science, AI, ML, deep learning, which is always, very, very mushy out there, right? And why learn AI in 2025, right? So, and how do you learn? What are the evolution? What are the step-by-step way you can learn AI from scratch? What is a roadmap looks like, right? And different careers, especially the data scientist career, right? And the curriculum roadmap if you were to be part of the AML program, right? So hopefully this was helpful, and you found value in the session, right? Um, and yes, all these questions, Karthik, right? You can get in touch with the program team here, and they would give you more details. If you should be able to give these questions in the feedback form shared by Lakshana, and someone will get back to you as well, right? So hopefully this was a useful session for you. um, all the very best, folks, and thank you so much for being a patient listener, and thank you for the engagement. Thanks. Bye.